am here at the Federal Communications Commission, which voted today to begin this rulemaking process to perhaps put in place new rules of the road for the Internet. Joined by Commissioner Robert McDowell right now. He has been a member of the Commission for several years now, and today voted to start this process, but at the same time, not sure you're going to end up in the same place as some of your fellow commissioners. You expressed skepticism about some of the rule, at least the notice of proposed rulemaking today. What about your skepticism? Tell me what worries you.
Well, first of all, Chairman Janikowski deserves a lot of praise for the collegial atmosphere he's created and the collaborative effort to get to this point today. I do question the factual and legal predicate for starting. I'm not convinced that the Internet is broken and that government is the best tool to fix it. So there's a lot going on out there in the Internet space, but there are a lot of options on the table. This is a very broad notice of proposed rulemaking. The public will have a chance to comment on a wide universe of issues. A
wide universe of issues, but let's talk about the central issue here. The goal here, from hearing from Chairman Janikowski and others, is no discrimination. You have content on the web. It shouldn't be blocked or slowed by Internet service providers at their own discretion. On the factual basis of that, at face value, do you buy that?
So the Commission has looked at this issue, the FCC has looked at this issue for a number of years, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, and a number of investigations have been conducted, and really there's been very little evidence of any kind of market failure on a wide scale. There have been a handful of incidents where players have gone astray and gone awry, but it's been resolved very quickly without new regulation. So I think we're probably best poised, my tentative conclusion is we're best poised to spotlight market failure and then work with the collaborative bodies that have worked out these conflicts since before the Internet was privatized in 1994. So let's stick with what works. That's collaboration over regulation.
All right, well, let me ask you about what worries you the most at the end of this rulemaking process there. Of course, these companies, AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, they spent billions of dollars to build these networks in the first place. Some people would say, listen, they built these networks. They should be able to manage them as they see fit. Do you buy that argument as well at its face?
Well, they're going to have to be able to manage the content. I think the chairman is trying to strike a tone there about reasonable network management, but then that becomes very difficult to define. And if we do this on a sort of litigious case-by-case basis, that alone can cause market uncertainty. But let's see what happens. You know, we do see new discussions now between the application industry and the network industry. So Google and Verizon Wireless just making a big announcement yesterday about trying to work collaboratively. That could be a positive byproduct of what we're doing here today. That is an ongoing discussion. These are discussions that have been had for 20 years in the Internet space. So we want to continue to foster that.
Ultimately, is this going to end up in the courts like we have so many other Internet-related issues?
I think so. I think no matter what the Commission does, if it issues an order sometime next year, let's say, pretty much everything we do ends up in the courts. So that's a part of the process is to take our orders to the appellate courts and have them resolve these issues. But there's a real bona fide legal question regarding how much authority do we have to regulate what before this point had been considered an unregulated information service. Those are broadband services. So over the past few years, the Commission has been carefully looking at the market and determining these types of services should be unregulated.
Let me ask you how big a deal this is. How big an issue is this? Obviously, there's a lot of attention today, even as you all just begin the process of considering new rules in this space. For our viewers at home who perhaps don't follow Google, don't follow AT&T every single day, how big a deal is this? What's at stake?
Well, what's at stake is investment in the Internet, upgrading the infrastructure to make sure that it can handle the traffic of tomorrow. As consumers download more and more video every day, that puts a strain on the current infrastructure, and we want to make sure that private capital has the certainty that it needs to invest there. Now, there's always the uncertainty of capitalism in general, but what you don't want to inject is the uncertainty of regulatory uncertainty. And that leads.
Do you think investment could dry up if this moves forward in the format you fear?
On October 1st, I chaired a hearing right here in this room with investment analysts of all stripes and sizes and investors and small startups as well as large institutional investors. And across the board, they said regulation can cause uncertainty. And as we look to implement this new national broadband plan, due to Congress February 17th, it might have a $350 billion price tag. So that's got to come from the private sector primarily. And we were told specifically during that October 1st hearing that, yeah, new rules could create uncertainty and start to dry up some investment.
All right. You are one of 2 Republicans on the Commission, 3 Democrats on here. At the end of the day, there are a lot of people saying you're going to be on the short end of this voting stick.
We shall see. You never know. It's the beginning of a very long process, and hopefully it'll continue to be collaborative like it is today.
All right, Commissioner McDowell, thank you very much for the time. The beginning of this process here at the FCC, we'll continue to follow it.